Good afternoon, YouTube. This is EconKate88, and I'm in my favorite place, Toledo's Road to Nowhere, boondoggle headquarters, Chinese-owned Marina District. And for my local viewers and listeners, Toledo Blade wrote an article today titled, they did not name me in the article, by the way. And if you're not familiar with my page from about 6 months ago, they wrote a hit piece, basically put out a APB to find out who I was because of my negative Toledo videos. And the article that they wrote today was, and I'll put a link to those other Blade articles from several months ago with this upload. Today's article, special report, the ugly truth about Toledo. Blight scars Toledo as residents, officials decry the mounting mess. Yeah, here's the mounting mess. Grass that's, well, what, about waist high. Weeds, waist high, folks. This is city-owned property. So, Mr. Mayor, you say you're going to go out and start fining people for code violations, not cutting your grass, garbage not picked up. Guess what? You can start the fining right in your own backyard. Here we go. So, when they start doing this, when they start picking on citizens who are struggling economically, you know, there are limits to what constitutes a mess. But if they're going to start nitpicking everybody, definitely use this video, take it to court, dispute the fines that they try to levy on you. Anyway, I don't know what to think about this article that they wrote today. Actually, there are two of them, but they're somewhat similar. Not real sure what their agenda is. I'm not sure if the Blade's actually agreeing with me now, or my skepticism has me to believe that there is some type of a levy in the works here with the construction mafia, the art mafia, all of these special interests, because the roads here are just in horrendous condition, almost to the point where it's catastrophic. And the blight, if you read the article, you'll see there are thousands of houses in Toledo that are, you know, derelict, and some of them probably can be fixed. Actually, the city shouldn't be in the business of fixing them. They should just sell the properties, give them away, whatever, and let private investors do what they're going to do with them. And if they don't keep the property up, then just seize it and sell it to the next person or give it away to the next person. But this article, just the main line that I was shocked was, fingers point to a passel of nincompoops. In friendlier terms, city officials who ignored the problem. Those are pretty harsh words. And second or third paragraph, for thousands of residents, Toledo has turned into a tattered town, a scary place where rats and raccoons scurry in tall weeds, where pimps, hookers, and gangs do business on street corners or in fancy cars cruising pothole streets. And that's the truth there, because you cannot drive in this city without encountering dozens upon dozens of potholes, even on short trips. Just absolute rim busters. Things that would just completely ruin even a four-wheel drive like I'm in here. I do have a friend with me. He will go unnamed. He's been in a couple other YouTube videos. And what do you think about this article today? I mean, what do you think there's some kind of a secret agenda with this?
Total surprise. I mean, this has been going on for 6 years. Look to your left, you're going to see Dearborn Street. Dearborn Street goes back into a very poor neighborhood. When I started looking for a place to live around that period of time, you could find a house for $2,500. $2,500. No, I'm not missing any zeros there. Well, this has been going on for 6 years. This should have been a major issue every quarter, as far as I'm concerned. It should have been a Blade running an article about our serious blight problem every 90 days. Instead, we had nothing. So why, 6 years later, after serious problems, is it suddenly an issue? I don't fault them for noticing the issue. I'm just asking where their attention has been for the last 6 years.
Yeah, I'm just kind of surprised that, you know, when they wrote the articles about my YouTube channel back in late November, and even into early December, they really kind of went after me and just said I was a critic of the city and didn't offer any solutions, just furthering the problems and this and that. Well, I offered several solutions, and one of the first solutions is, folks, I'm concerned that they're going to go after another levee here to repair blight, you know, repair potholes, so on and so forth. And we just have to make sure that we fail these levees by a large margin at all costs. And call me skeptical, but I just don't trust the agenda here. And if they really do want to work on solutions on how to fix some of the problems in Toledo, first and foremost, again, stop voting for these levees. And I'm pretty sure they're going to try for a roads levy here in the near future. And again, that's really what I think this blade hit piece today was, kind of a back door to that. And the reason why I chose this site was because this is one of my favorite videos. And this was one of the videos that was highlighted in the blade piece today. The backdrop photo was of this going towards downtown Toledo. This is the Marina District. This is city-owned property, and it is a mess. And it's been a mess for a while. There was a company that came through here and basically was responsible for tearing down the building. They got the scrap metal, and when they got what they wanted out of it, they just bailed out. So now we're stuck. When I say we, I'm talking about the city taxpayers. We're going to be stuck for cleaning this mess up if it ever does happen. So I will be on WSPD radio Tuesday morning. Fred Lefevre, local radio host, has offered me a half-hour spot on his show, and hopefully I can come back on there and speak with him in future dates. And I'm pleased if the blade, if their goal is to start discussing the real problems here in Toledo. And Toledo's not like unique. There's other cities that have these problems, and that's one of the excuses that these Toledo homers, as I call them, use. Well, it's crappy in Cleveland too, and wow, it's crappy in Detroit. Well, you know what? I don't set the bar of Toledo's success or livable index, if you may, based on how it rates versus Detroit. So, you know, definitely read the article. It's almost comical to read, because it's just, they really unloaded on the city. I mean, have you ever read anything where they just unloaded on them like this?
No, I haven't. It's shocking. It's pleasing, but it's shocking, and it only makes me wonder, why is there a sudden change in direction?
Yeah, because, you know, the problems of blight in the city, you know, I grew up near this Marina District, so I actually remember when this Acme plant was still operating, and the smokestacks were, you know, every day you saw just smoke pouring out of these things, and it was a wealth-producing industry for this area. And now it looks kind of like, I don't know, it looks like Fallujah in here. You can see, again, this is, if you watch the video in the past, you know, it's kind of, it hasn't changed at all. Just the rains probably settled some of the bricks further down into the ground. But you can see this is not a 1 week or even a 30-day project to clean this mess up. This is going to cost a lot of money that we don't have. And again, I'm going to stress this over and over and over again. Do not fall for their tactics if they try to pass a roads levy, if they try to pass a blight removal levy.
That's my biggest fear.
Yes, and me too, because that is a large part of the problem of why folks have left Toledo in the first place. We're overtaxed, and it just further drives industry out. It further makes it tougher for people to maintain a home. It makes it tougher for, everyone complains about landlords, Well, if you've got people that are too poor to be able to afford to buy a house, they're going to be renters. That's just an economic reality. And there isn't anything wrong with being a renter as long as you pay your rent. And in order for landlords to fix properties and pay their property taxes and water bills and so on and so forth, they have to be able to make a profit on their investment, on their property. And if they can't, they're just going to walk away from the house, and then it just snowballs. So, and the mayor was talking about, well, we've had 100,000 people leave the city. Yeah, that's true, but why did they leave, folks? That's what you have to start thinking about. And passing more levies and just getting overly aggressive about fining people because their grass is a ½ inch too high, or they have a few boards with chip paint, things like that. That's not the solution. Red light cameras, all these things added up over time just have driven people out of the city. And you know, in a lot of my other videos talk about, they try to force the relevancy of downtown. And all this money that's been poured into downtown, most of it has not been successful. That means there's been less money for other parts of the city, have less money to clean up this mess right here that we're looking at. And we could tear down a lot of abandoned houses for the money that we've wasted on murals, on planting flowers, on what other stupid things have they done that's just a complete waste? Can you think of anything?
It pretty much covers it.
Yeah, and then in the article, you know, you'll see they quoted Lindsay Webb, and she said, well, we ought to be ashamed of this stuff. Well, you know what? Lindsay Webb is one of 2 council people who proposed a parks levy. Like we don't already have enough parks here. Oh, you just seen they don't even mow the grass in some of the parks that we have now. So they wanted another levy because they didn't know what to do with a bunch of abandoned school buildings. So really the only politician locally that I can think of, well, there are some that I don't know much about their voting record, but the only one that I know of that has any sense of fiscal responsibility, and even he's not, his report card is not flawless, but Tom Winooski's about the only one that has a clue. Can you think of anybody else? Any mayors that we've had? You know, Mike Bell did a few good things as far as fiscal responsibility, but he was still a tax and spender net. That was his shtick.
Well, I voted him out.
Yeah, I didn't really have much of an opinion about the mayor's race, and all I know is this: the politicians that we have now as a group have been a failure, a huge failure, and this is just one example right here. And the Blade article shows further proof. Anyone that's from Toledo can just drive around. A lot of people just look right out their front door or back door and see junk cars and fallen down houses and burned out houses. I mean, they showed on the article these houses over in East Toledo where there have been homes over there that have been burned out for years and they're still sitting there. So I can't really think of anything else at this point. I just wanted to reply to the Blade article and let folks know I will be on local radio Tuesday morning. Please listen. I'll post a link to that also. It's from 7 to 7:30 a.m. And I hope to get back on the air again in the future. And no, I'm not going to stop making these videos regardless of what the Blade does, even though I'm glad that they certainly have a larger platform than I do to point out these problems, to point out this blight, possibly help get some solutions. But again, my number one concern is I don't want them using this to push more taxes through on folks, property owners. That's just too much of the problem why we have the blight in the first place. It's pushed employers out. People can't find work. They're not going to stay. You know, and you just can't run a city that just has a majority of the people on, you know, that they're not wage earners. They have no wealth. They're just
Marking time.
Yeah, they're not contributing to the coffers at all to help pay. It does cost money. I realize that some taxes are necessary. It does cost money to run a city, But we're already paying for this stuff. We're already paying for blight removal. We're already paying for road construction. Somehow, some way, we've got to get the city to get their financial house in order. So thanks for watching, everybody. Please read the links to the blade articles. This is Econ Cat 88 signing off from Toledo, Ohio, Marina District, ground zero of the American economic collapse and pothole capital of the world.